Hey everybody, this is Max Steinberg. I'm here for another contest flashback NFL review show. So my friend Andrew is not available this morning. So to keep this going, I just thought I'd do this myself. And I'm going to do things a little differently. I've reviewed some stuff before this video, and I just wanted to go over something that I saw in the main slate, and then obviously talk about Giant Squid's NFL Showdown win from last night. So let's just get into it. So, as always, if you're interested in using Contest Flashback, you can just click on the Contest tab where we'll show all of your contests plus all the contests that are available on DraftKings. So you can just click on any one of these and you can see a lot of very, very cool stats about the slate and players who are used, how users did, what their strategies were. And I just want to illustrate something here because I'm looking at the NFL Wildcat, which is a more high stakes tournament, and looking at the player ownerships, you can see that one of the highest owned players was Jackson Smith and Jigba. And not surprisingly, he was high owned because DK Metcalf was rolled out in the early games. And when he was rolled out, Jackson Smith and Jigba became probably the best wide receiver value on the slate. And because of that, you're going to want him in your lineup. But the thing is in order to do that, you have to set yourself up to get him. And that requires a late swap. And looking at some of the smaller stakes tournaments, like the play action, which is, the $3.20 max, you can see that Jackson Smith and Jigba is not very owned. He's comes in under 10% ownership. And that makes him just like an infinitely better play, right? Is now you can get someone who's like an awesome value at really low ownership. And my guess is if you look at sim ROIs for this tournament, you're going to see you're probably not going to see all Jackson Smith and Jigba. And I'm sorry, this is going to take a while because when you have a contest that's just this huge, it just takes forever to load on the front end. So I appreciate that SaberSim actually allows us to do this, but it takes a long time. So as it's loading, and I don't know if it's going to actually load all the way. I just wanted to illustrate that because, if you're playing low stakes or if you're playing high stakes too, late swapping when it actually matters can be a huge, huge source of edge. And these high stakes players know this. And if you're playing low stakes where you get to play with a lot of people who are not willing to do this, it can be even bigger source of edge, right? So I'm not talking about every time there's some news, just like late swapping all your lineups and changing everything. But when you have actual news that matters, I remember Kyron Williams, maybe in week 2 was one of those things where he was announced the starter and Cam Akers wasn't going to play and his projections changed by several fantasy points. In this case, DK Metcalf is out. Smith and Jigba is now projected at 11, which is a great value. I would say some sites probably projected him up at 12. I had him a little higher than 11. So that's just something that's going to help. So if we look at some of the best users of the slate, the user of the week, so to speak, looking at, let's say, Redcoat, I bet, and I don't know this for a fact, but I bet we're going to at least see a lot of Seattle, and we're probably going to see a lot of Jackson Smith and Jigba, which we do. He has almost 90% ownership. So this player literally said, hey, this news came out. He probably set himself up for this and just said, hey, if DK Metcalf is out, I am going to jam in Seattle. And his reasoning is, hey, we're just like, as DFS players, we're just trying to maximize our theoretical ROI. And the best way to do that in this case, when this value comes into play, where suddenly Kenneth Walker's better, Tyler Lockett's better, and hey, if you stack them with Geno Smith, you just have this awesome correlation. Suddenly, this player is saying, hey, if I just jam in all these players, my theoretical ROI is going to just skyrocket. And I think that makes a lot of sense. It's something that I also tried to do on the slate is just jam in these players. once that news came out, and I set myself up by just trying to play as many afternoon players as possible. And this didn't work out. I'm pretty sure that this player probably had a negative actual ROI. I know he actually, I know his profit was negative 10,000. Yeah, so he had a negative actual ROI. It did not work out. But sometimes that's going to happen. And I think what this player did was really smart. And if you're playing low stakes, especially, it's going to be even more smart. My guess is someone who's using the strategy in something like the play action probably had a sim ROI of over 100%. So just wanted to illustrate that one. So will be a quick one, but just moving on to Showdown. So congratulations to GiantSquid for winning the Sunday Night Showdown. He got a unique lineup, and as you can see, unique lineups that are viable tournament plays have really high ROI. So this one had a sim ROI of 360%, which I'm not surprised. Even though it's a little weird, right? It has Dolphins D playing with AJ Brown captain, which feels kind of bad to do, but in the range of outcome that happens where the Dolphins D actually scores big somehow, and this is the best lineup, it's worth it, even though it's unlikely because you end up getting a unique lineup and you solo win 500K. And something I wanted to illustrate here that I thought was cool was GiantSquid has an interesting strategy that I think sort of goes against what some people think. Some people sort of see like a guy like Osimo or something like that, and he sees 73 unique lineups. Wow, like he just is basically going for it, right? He's just trying to get a unique lineup. And GiantSquid actually accomplishes a much better sim ROI, one of the tops on the slate, by doing something different. He has 20 unique lineups, and his average dupe is 6. And I read somewhere that he probably had about half his lineups were under 5 duplicates. And so I think it's interesting because obviously getting that unique lineup is going to be really awesome if you end up winning. And I think he's glad that he had those 20 unique lineups because one of them ended up being the winner. But he also is not just like going for it, right? He's just trying to make good ROI lineups. If they're unique, they're unique. If they're going to be duplicated 5 times, they're going to be duplicated 5 times. Those lineups still can be very, very good. And so I guess what the point I'm trying to illustrate is, hey, here's some high stakes player who used the favor sim, and he's not just going for it. He's had some sort of different strategy that I'm not really sure what it is, but it ends up actually being a lower variance strategy. If you're not just going for solo wins in order to win, then you're going to have a lower variance strategy. You're going to make more money more often, and it can be good. So it's just something to consider when you're trying to build showdown lineups and trying to figure out what you should be doing. I think there's a lot of different strategies. I mean, Shady Advice as well. He's someone I respect a lot. And his average dupe last night was 60, right? And a lot of times I see him going for uniques too. So depending on the slate, depending on the strategy, you can do a lot of different things with Showdown. There's a lot of money in Showdown if you play your cards right. And I think this was just interesting to illustrate. So congrats to GiantSquid. I know this was shorter than normal, but since I don't have my partner Andrew, it's a little different, and I just wanted to make sure to pop out this video. So thanks again for watching. Next week, I'm sure Andrew will be back and we'll have more witty banter and a lot of discussion. But I hope you enjoyed this modified form of the contest review, and I'll see you guys next week.